Welcome to High House Diaries, episode 2. When we first looked at High House, we loved it for many reasons, and one of them is this house here, which is called Burrells View, which is just 25 yards away from High House. Originally, this had another story on it, hence the name, but the previous owners took that story off when they re-roofed it, I don't know, 25, 30 years ago. To me, it looks like a mansion, but it is actually a 3-bedroom house. The original part of the cottage was an old barn conversion, which they then added on to when they put an extension on about 20-ish years later. As we can see, parts of it are in need of some quite severe renovation. And inside, some of the rooms are a bit dated, like this bathroom with its red ring Super 7X power shower, or non-power shower, straight out of the history books of shower design. So there's quite a lot of modernisation to be done here as well. Despite all those minor factors, Burrells View is a beautiful cottage which we plan to convert into 2 one-bedroom cottages to rent out as holiday lets. Another point of interest at High House is that the water comes from a borehole, something I've never had before, but is apparently quite commonplace out in the countryside. And the borehole is under this cover. To be honest with you, I was expecting something a lot more exciting than this. I was told that there's a 100-foot borehole, so I was sort of expecting to be glimpsing the centre of the earth or something, I don't know, but this is it. So the pump pumps the water from about 100 feet down and up this pipe and runs along this wall. Just whilst I was standing there, I noticed this ground elder, which is a most incredibly persistent garden weed. But just look at the beautiful flowers that it produces. So even though it is a weed, I think it has a place in the flower garden as well. Having run along the wall, the pipe then heads uphill and up what has become to be known as the Steps of Death and onwards into the woods. And it makes its way into the water tank just up here. And as we can see into this rather murky old metal tank, and I have to say I'm rather glad that we decided not to drink the water here until we'd checked this out. And it also means unfortunately we're going to have to replace it with a slightly more modern system and a tank that at least isn't just covered up with a piece of plywood and otherwise open to nature and all its delights. Of course, life's not all about drinking tea by the river and gardening, but also looking after our young family. And this is Joel, who's just coming up for 3 months old, and this is Cecily, who's just disappeared. Oh, there she is, who's 20 months old. 3, 2, 1. Last week the red currants weren't quite ready, but this week they are absolutely perfect, and I wish you were here because you can just smell red currants in the air. So it seemed like a perfect opportunity to make some red currant jelly. And there really are tons of them, like little red jewels hanging off each branch. It took about 5 minutes to pick this basket full, and I'm feeling a bit like a 10-year-old at a pick your own. There's 2 big differences. One, I'm not 10 years old anymore, and the other one is we don't have to pay for them. Let's go make some jelly. Because this is high house, we're going to make our red currant jelly over an open fire. So why do I need a machete to make jelly? Well, this is why. This is my handy little cooking grid, which is actually the decorative back of an old chair out of the pub. Put your handy grid on the ground, cut just inside that, and take out your clod of soil. Dig down a little deeper and just keep the soil handy to put back in the hole when you're finished. Then take out about the same size lump again, so that you can continually feed your fire whilst your saucepan's still on the heat. Have a good supply of firewood. Just a few branches like these old ash branches are perfect, because if I need quick heat, I just take the little branches off, slightly longer lasting heat, the thicker branches. And you don't need a particularly large fire to boil a saucepan such as this. So here we have the perfect little fire for making our red currant jelly. And this is how the hole to the side works, is you can just feed sticks in of varying diameters to keep your fire going without having to take the saucepan off and then your grill every time you want to keep your fire going. On go the red currants. We're going to bring them to the boil and simmer for 10 minutes. Had the saucepan on the fire for 10 minutes now. A couple of things was I just added a little bit of water because we could hear the fruit hissing on the bottom of the pan. And also to help things along, I'm just sort of giving it a gentle tap down to break up the fruit a little bit and help in the boiling. And as you can see, the red currants are breaking down nicely. So hopefully we'll be boiling soon. It's just started boiling and you can see how much it's broken down already. So simmer for 10 minutes on a low heat. In high house terms, that means using big sticks rather than little sticks. So we've added the sugar into the mix, which there was 6 pounds of red currants, so we've just put 6 pounds of sugar in. Now turn up the heat and bring to the boil. It took about 15 minutes to bring it to the boil, so now we're going to boil it for 8 minutes. After 8 minutes of simmering, we then do the jelly test, or the gelatine test, and the closest thing I've got to a cold plate is by leaving this one on the river for a few minutes to cool it down. I'm sure the fact that it's raining isn't helping. Just put a little bit on the plate and make sure that it's setting a bit. It's definitely still moving around, but I quite like my jelly, you know, a little bit runny rather than solid. So that's definitely starting to set. And not helped by the rain either, I wouldn't have thought. So I think we'll pop it in some jars. At the end of your cooking session, lift off your grill, put out your fire, and put back your turf. It's almost like we were never here. As we're fair weather jelly makers, we decided to retire under cover for the rest of the process. So take the mixture, pour it through a sieve, straight into a sterilised jam jar. They're sterilised by boiling them in water for a few minutes, and the lids as well. So that's jam jar number 1. And as we don't want to waste any of our precious jelly, we put the rest into a muslin, which will hang up for a few hours or even overnight, just to get the most out of it. After straining the mixture, we ended up with 10 jars full of jelly, which I have to say did surprise me. The rest of the mixture, as you can see, I nipped off up into the hedgerow and cut 3 hazel sticks to make a tripod, and I think there's about a jar full there already, so we'll leave that probably overnight and get maybe another jar out of it. I have a suspicion that I got a little bit impatient and started forcing it through the sieve, so our sieved jelly is going to be quite a lot cloudier than our sieve through the muslin jelly, but we'll wait and see. And I must say that the whole point, or part of the point, of us moving to High House is for us to become more self-sufficient as a family, and whilst this is a tiny start, it is at least a beginning that we've made our own red currant jelly out of the red currants given to us from the garden. Thank you for watching.